venues that I wasn't feeling comfortable with. It was me getting out of my comfort zone and finding the happy medium that gave them what they needed, and also helped me feel comfortable in what I was as a person putting out there. So, and that's one of the things when I'm sitting down and meeting with anyone that wants to help be helped managed. I ask them the questions like, why are you here? Do you just like playing music? Because if you just like playing music, that's fine. We can do that. I can find you all kinds of gigs that let you play music. You won't make a single dime, but get lots of exposure. Or are you looking to perfect your skill? Then you know what? With that also comes the opportunity for better, bigger, and better gigs. Are you looking just because you want to have fans come to your show? Do you want to see 250 people show up at your show and you don't care how much money you make? That's one thing. Or do you care that you make, like I'm being paid for the time and the effort that I put into it, and I don't care that only 10 people showed up at the show. I got paid for the time and effort I put into it. So I think as the pitfalls that I originally ran into was really gathered around being protective of my family. But as I've grown, it's now the pitfalls can be helping the band understand where their trajectory is. How do they want to grow? Where do they want to be, say 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Are they going to be the same band? Are they going to be the same people in the band? I mean, and so those are the things now, like my whole idea of how to help a band has completely changed just because it's now no longer protecting the family, my personal family, it's protecting the bigger family that comes to the studio now.
I love that. That's cool.
You made a good point about, because a lot of times artists that come in, they don't necessarily even know what they might want. They might tell you, I want lots of money, but in reality, they just want to play, or vice versa, I guess is probably the most common part where they say, actually, I want to play, but in reality, they want places that are more specific to like their music or their, and then being paid and then fans and everything. So what you're describing is something that isn't necessarily defined, I think, in the music industry, of being able to say, what do you want and how do you get it? There's a pretty one-sided way of looking at it. So
yeah, you get your buddies together and you pay your dues in a van for 10 years and you lose 10 years of your life to just grinding, when in reality, like, the internet exists and you can just write music and put it out there, Right.
And so to answer the question that you asked about pitfalls, I think that was one for us, knowing, at least as QOK, knowing how to actually define what it is that we wanted, not what we thought we were supposed to want. And we all came in saying, this is what I want to do with my life, but we never thought about, at least in the beginning, all the possibilities. And that's what the studio is. It's one of those possibilities. Music is essentially my life. I haven't performed in a while, but this is mine just as much as, QOK or the songs I've written or anything. And I think having written original songs, it just kind of, I have that poetry that I've been noticed for. And so, I mean, knowing that you can do more with what you have is important. That can be an extreme hurdle for artists who don't know what they want or feel like they only have one option. That's a big pitfall, I think, in the whole industry, especially how it's changing. You don't get picked up at, the club anymore. If you're playing at a bar and an agent doesn't come up to you and say, hey, heard you playing tonight. How'd you like to be, part of, Atlantic Records? Like, that'd be awesome. Does not happen that way anymore. I can't think of a single band or artist in the last few years that.
I mean, like maybe Ed Sheeran, but he was playing at an open mic and Jamie Foxx showed up, was like, hey, you want to use my studio? But like, what are the chances of that happening?
Right. It's just not a regular occurrence anymore. So that would be a pitfall. And then I also think learning how to talk to your band members or your team. We learned every possible way to do it and not to do it, I think. And we're all still best friends. I think that's an important point. You got to figure that out. You have to know how to talk to your people, and you have to be able to accept what other people have to say. I think conflict resolution is a totally different thing when you're in a band. It's a totally different set of skills. It's definitely
Well, I mean, at one point or another, while we were playing at QOK, at any given day, one person was like, "I don't want to do this anymore. I'm out." And the other person could be like, "This is it, guys. Just hang on a bit longer." And then you have everyone else who's kind of just like in between that, And it being a family, it being 5 siblings, all of different ages, all different personalities, all different music types, like it was a toss up of who was going to do what at what time. So I think that's a really good point. Knowing how to communicate with your band and being okay with them saying something that you may not like, and more importantly, may hurt your feelings. That's big. So that's QOK. Let's talk more about the studio. So Blank Tape Studios, like what, I asked the question earlier, but like, when was it where we were like, we're going to do this? And I'm going to ask you, Mama, because I feel like were the person who was like, are we doing this or not? So tell me about that.
I think it was more like, I'm doing it without you.
With or without you.
With or without you. Because it's what's the path of least resistance? And realizing that, yes, you guys could go on and we can gig all day, every day. How easy is it for me to get a gig for you guys now?
Oh, yeah. Can we get 10 shows this summer?
Okay.
Okay, cool. Yeah, let me know when those 12. Are. Yeah, exactly.
So I think that was, we could do that all day long and it became easy. And I'm not one for, I guess, sitting still. Yeah. But I was also listening to all of you and what you were saying and like what your future plans were, and realizing that it just every time it came back to music. It didn't matter what you were doing or what you were thinking or what you were saying. You all said the same thing. It all came back to music. And I said, well, you know what? We can take every skill set from all 5 of you, and also from the people that we had met, that we had included in our circle, and incorporate it into something that could grow, that wasn't tied to gigging, only gigging. Like it wasn't tied to just that one point of music. Now it's 5 points of music. It's 10 points of music. It's exponential, because what I do for QOK, I'm able to do for 3-4 other bands. And then, but that's just one line of what we can do. Like I can get every 3-4 bands gigged out. Well, I have bands that want to rehearse. Well, now I can do rehearsals 5 days a week. And then I've got Kristyn, who is a teacher by trade. And now we can do workshops and teach these bands how to better manage their time, or be able to speak to each other, or put their EPKs together. So now we have taken music and looked at every single aspect of it and built Blank Tape Studios from that. And I think it was just like listening to you. And I kept saying, well, if they're saying this, there are other people out there that are feeling the same way. And I know I'm not limited to just QOK. I'm now open to every single band that needs that same set of resources. And that's why I was like, I'm going to do it with or without you guys, because I knew that there was something there. And I like literally dream about it in my downtime. Like I see the future, and it's like the best place. And this place, I walk in here, and it's, because of the way that it's set up, it's separated from the world. You come in and your creative juices flow, because it allows you to be in tune and turned into your own mind, and you get so much work done while you're here.
Yeah, yeah. So Kristyn, tell me about, because I remember there was a time where there was a facility available for purchase, someone that we had recorded with that we knew, and we were looking into it heavily. Like, take me back to that point and take me from that point of going to investigate to here, to where we are now.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I actually forgot. I think it's just been so focused on this place. So was it last year?
It was last year. I think it was May of last year.
Okay, so last year, like you said, there was a friend of ours who we know. We had recorded with him. We actually had almost gone into a business with him, sort of, in a way, worked with him. And he was moving and wanted to sell his studio. And again, we had always thought about it, so we figured, hey, why not? Let's just go and Let's go see what he's got. Yeah. As Gerald says, audition it. And he was really open about everything. He had a lot of good, like he had done a lot of work and really built this up. And but as we looked into it more and more, we realized that it was just something that we could accomplish on our own. And dare I say it, for less?
I think it was more, it didn't feel, it's like when you buy a house. When you buy a house, you know it's your house. You walk into it and it feels like you, and you're like, that's my home.
That's my house.
Right. When we were looking at the other location, it didn't feel like it was a place that we could move into. It didn't feel like ours.
Yeah, just the way the transaction was, I think, set up, it was like, if you buy it, I'd like you to continue my legacy. And I think the way that it turned out is like, now we're doing things where we're building our own legacy. So after that, we did all the numbers, we investigated, and then what happened?
So we started, like Joseph, we did all the numbers and everything, and we decided to try on our own because, we had been, as we were looking around at numbers, we were looking at places that we could get into and how much that was going to cost. And it just so happened that this particular place was like prime. I mean, the amount of stuff that they've allowed us to do here is fantastic. And I remember coming in, we have a picture on our Instagram stories of you, Gerald, standing in one of the empty rooms, and you're just trying to envision it. And I don't know if we knew at that time what it was gonna like, how it was going to become, but even before the last couple of weeks where we've been really, really hustling to do like really, finishing touch kind of things, it has just been the leaps and bounds, the steps that we're taking from this empty IT,
data center,
like it
warehouse.
Was nothing. And now, and it's funny because the contractor of the building comes in all the time and he goes, wow, it's looking good in here. And he says it every single time. And it's because we put so much, literal labor of love. Like we spent nights in here painting.
Slept here.
We've slept here, we've moved furniture from walls to walls. We shopped at the Goodwill for artwork and, we did it all. And it's amazing. The one thing I do remember is when Mama found this place and like she said, I'm going to do this without you. I don't know if that was necessarily motivating, but it was one of those like, okay, it's going to happen. Either it's going to happen or it's not. And so I guess seeing her move in that way was kind of like, well, okay, I'll come along for the ride. And it was just nice to be able to see, because let me tell you, if there's anything that Mama wants to get done, it'll get done.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so last couple questions before we get you guys out of here, because you are both very busy business women and got things to do. What are you working on right now? Like, what musical projects are you working on right now?
I am working on an album of lullabies inspired by my 3-year-old daughter. Songs that I sing to her at night that she enjoys. So I'm working on selecting the songs, and then my next stage here would be how I'm going to arrange them. I have a couple that I've kind of been thinking about in my head, so I need to get those down on paper. But that's where I am musically right now. Yeah.
For me, I'm actually trying to keep the 3-4 bands we have that I've been working with, managing, still rehearsing remotely, whether they're within their own band members, so that we don't lose traction while we're in our quarantine phase. And then also keeping track with those gigs that were already on the books prior to this happening, just making sure that they know that we're still available, still interested, still want to do the gigs, so that we don't lose those opportunities as well. And then also looking at rebranding, or I don't even want to call it rebranding, but just like bringing Blank Tape Studios more to the forefront. We kind of were keeping it under wraps for, I don't know why, but now we're getting ready to make its grand debut. Now that we've done, as Kristyn said, the finishing touches, it's getting ready to have its official grand opening.
All right. Cool. And last question, what's your favorite thing about Blank Tape Studios? We'll go back to you, Mama.
My favorite thing about Blank Tape Studios is how, again, you come in here and